This update has Calgary Flames fans very concerned. So far, General Manager Craig Conroy has been able to sign all RFAs this summer except for Connor Zary. A new report has come out that has fans concerned about Zary's future with the club, but many are still hoping a deal will come to fruition in the near future. We're going to get into all that more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and let's talk about this new Zary report. As we know, a contract, it still hasn't, been agreed upon. There's no contract that's been signed. What's going on with Connor Zary? I think for a lot of people coming into this offseason, that was, the number one thing on the list, other than maybe signing Coronato as well. And Conroy's done a great job of signing the RFAs. But what's going on with Zary? Well, we finally have a bit of an update here, a new report from Anthony DeMarco. So he writes, Calgary and Zary's camp have had discussions over the past several days. Things are still slow moving and there is still a sizable separation on AAV. Calgary's looking in the low threes. The player is obviously looking for more, or this would have been done. So at least we know they're talking, but knowing that they're apparently quite far apart, a sizable separation, to use the direct quote, is a little bit concerning in a way. We kind of figure a 3.7 is kind of fair, anywhere between that 3.5 to 3.9, but the Flames are going low threes. That's honestly not ideal. I didn't want to hear that. I want to hear, the Flames obviously giving out a bit of a, fair contract in a way. I understand that on, the team side, you're always going to offer a little bit lower, but it is interesting. Now, DeMarco also says 3-year deal is still the likely term, but as always, other options are on the table. So it sounds like it'll be 3-year no matter what, kind of one of those bridge deals, but the AAV is what is off right now. And some people obviously were talking about this under Mr. DeMarco's tweet here. So some interesting points. One person says, bridge deal, I'd give him $4 million AAV. That walks him to free agency. Very interesting there. Obviously paying quite a bit, but walking to free agency. Another person says 3 by 3.85 mil, book it and move on. Again, that is towards the higher end, but still a fair deal if you look at some of the comparables in terms of players that have been signed recently that obviously Zary stats-wise is quite comparable to, and age-wise and everything else. So yeah, a bit on the higher end, maybe a little bit better for the player, but yeah, book it and move on. I can understand the frustration there. Another person says, Murray Edwards is meddling. Someone needs to expose it. And that's kind of what a lot of people think is at the root of all the Flames problems, whether it's who they sign, who they trade for, etc., etc. So interesting, not surprised to see that there. But one person I think it's very interesting to note says, we'll nickel and dime him to a bridge deal, then scratch our heads when he chooses to test free agency. And we have had that happen before, and it's true. If you offer too low, the player's not going to be happy with the club. Obviously, you don't want to go too high. It just makes no sense. That's not how the business works. But yeah, if you just nickel and dime him to, a small bridge deal, don't be shocked if he ends up walking when the deal's done. Now, obviously, Conroy doesn't want that to happen. He likes to trade away players when their contracts are going to be expiring, but you can't do that for everyone. And Zary's obviously not an old veteran, so it's a bit of a toss-up. But either way, let's talk about why. Why is maybe, this deal not happening yet? Why are we in this situation we're in? I think that's what a lot of people want to know. And we have a great article, once again, from Mr. Rupert McDonald from the Hockey Writers. So he writes, Flames fans should start getting worried about Connor Zary. We're nearing the end of July, and the Calgary Flames have yet to work out an extension with Zary. That isn't particularly unusual or worrisome, as training camp doesn't begin until September, while the regular season doesn't get underway until October. So it's not necessarily that we should be worried that a deal hasn't exactly been struck yet, but let's get into it a little bit more. So Zary is a difficult player to project. Zary by no means has ever been considered a can't-miss prospect, but he has been an intriguing one ever since entering the Flames organization. Being selected 24th overall back in 2020, it suggested that he had the potential to become an impactful NHLer, though players selected that late in the first round are by no means a guarantee to turn out. Red flags around Zary started popping up in the 2021-22 season, where in his first year as a pro, he had just 13 goals and 25 points in 53 AHL games, so not exactly fantastic. All worries were pushed to the side the following season, however, as he had a much more impressive 21 goals and 58 points in 71 outings. And as we know, he ended up breaking out, in the NHL a couple seasons ago now. So He wasn't exactly expected to stick the whole way. A lot of people wanted that, and then obviously he did. So with those red flags, that's what makes giving Zary a long-term deal so tricky. The 23-year-old would certainly prefer a long-term deal, though he would want one that properly compensates him up for years to come, especially with the salary cap going up. The Flames were willing to do that with Coronato, though his 24-goal season proved that he is going to be a very good offensive player for years to come. To this point, Zary has yet to show that ceiling. So, yes, obviously Zary wants to get as much money as possible, something that's fair. If you go the longer term, then you want to be paid for what you think you're worth for that whole thing. That's why sometimes it's easier to go for the bridge deal, make, kind of bet on yourself contract. But there are some more red flags. So due to some injury concerns and the unknown of what type of player Zary will become, the Flames' best decision here would be to sign the young forward to a bridge deal, of course. The issue, however, is that it doesn't seem like Zary is eager to sign such a contract, as it almost certainly would have been inked by now otherwise. It's just one opinion, but it could be true. The fact that we haven't reached the bridge deal yet is interesting. Again, money talks. That's exactly what the whole issue is here. While he could still agree to a short-term contract between now and training camp, not getting a long-term contract like Coronato's could leave a sour taste in his mouth. And that's another reason, why it's not exactly ideal. Overall, it's never an ideal scenario for everyone involved, but yeah, that is kind of what's going on. That is why the entire situation is somewhat troubling if you're a Flames fan, of course. First off, the fact a contract hasn't been signed when all other deals mentioned above have been suggests that there may be some tension between the two sides. That could result in a holdout to begin the 2025-26 season. If instead they are able to work out a short-term deal, Zary's future in Calgary could still be in jeopardy should he hold bitter feelings over not getting the long-term contract that Coronato recently did. It's a situation to monitor for Flames fans, and one that will only get more stressful as each day passes, and it is. The one thing I'll say is, yes, all of us kind of want Connor Zary here for the future. But let's say he does, not sign long-term. I don't think people will be super upset the way they have been with other players that have left the Flames in the past. Who knows what Zary's thinking as well? Who knows if he's comparing himself to Coronato? Maybe, there's something else going on that we don't know about. I personally don't see Zary in a bad way. Hockey is a business at the end of the day, and with agents involved and everyone else, it is interesting. But the more this continues, the more Zary's name gets brought up in a lot of different ways, not just contract talks. And the one big comparable that he's been getting lately is to Sam Bennett. So a recent article from earlier this month, so the Flames can't make the same mistake with Connor Zary that they did with Sam Bennett. Obviously, they didn't put him in a great situation, didn't give him, a long-term contract. Lo and behold, he got traded away to Florida and is now excelling, as we see a lot of former Flames do, especially down in the Sunshine State. And, he's been compared to him even during the season. So why is Connor Zary's ice time being limited? Is this another Sam Bennett situation? So both on and off the ice, he's being compared to the Sam Bennett situation in Calgary, which is not ideal. And people are starting to take it a step further, knowing that, maybe there might be some discomfort within Zary and the organization. So a lot of people are now linking Zary to the Kings. Now, no way was I going to do a Connor Zary trade rumor video, but apparently the Kings should target Connor Zary, or have been targeting Connor Zary. We've also seen that the Flames did extend a qualifying offer to Zary. It obviously wasn't matched or met or signed upon or whatever it goes. And then another person says Connor Zary contract talks, why the Calgary Flames must prioritize the 23-year-old forward. That was written 4 days ago, and that's with everything else already signed. I know it has Kadri in the thumbnail. It doesn't make any sense, but it seems like the biggest thing the Flames need to be doing this summer, and that's why it's becoming more and more of a concern for a lot of people. I think, something will work out, but it is starting to get a little bit concerning, and, knowing that Zary might not be too happy with the organization, that's not something we need more of since we've had it so much in the past, but again, only time will tell. Now let's get into the comment of the day to wrap up this video, as we love to do here on the channel. It came from yesterday's video about Michael Backlund trade rumors of all things. And Gordon here kind of put it perfectly. He said, I would be okay with this only if he wants to try to get a cup. Yeah, if he, asks for a trade to go to a contender, totally makes sense. But I'm also okay if he wants to retire here. Much love for you, Bax. And it's so true. If he decides to ride it out with the Flames next season for the whole time, I'm sure that'll kind of be his last year with the Flames and maybe in the NHL. But That's okay with us as well. He has given everything to this organization and to this city. So no matter what he chooses, I think he has free will at it. Just kind of crazy to see his name in the trade rumor mill. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to what you saw here today and have a wonderful rest of your day.